set to sofa is where it's at. And Lulu, darling, just loves the chat. She talks to stars with grace and style. Lulu sure will make you smile.
Hello, my lovelies. Make yourselves comfortable and settle in with a nice cuppa or a cheeky glass of something stronger. I won't judge. You're listening to From Set to Sofa with Lulu, and I'm Lulu. I've been having the time of my life catching up with so many of my peers from those golden days when television, film and stage were at their glittering peak. You know those days when the studios were buzzing, when dressing rooms had a certain perfume of ambition, and when a single performance could make or break you. So many of the pioneers of that era are still around, still creating, still inspiring, still proving that talent and tenacity don't have an expiry date. And today's guest is one of those rare souls. She's multi-talented, endlessly surprising, and somehow seems to reinvent herself just when you think you know her story. She began her journey in a world that requires iron discipline and the ability to smile through pain. Think tiny shoes, endless rehearsals, and the kind of elegance that leaves the rest of us looking like we're made of cardboard. Yes, she started young, very young. So young, in fact, that when I think back to my own dreams of being Margot Fonteyn, I laugh at the sheer audacity. My poor mother once took me to see Margot in Swan Lake when I was barely out of nappies, and I was so mesmerised I nearly toppled over the railing of the dress circle. I begged to go to ballet school, won myself a doll in a competition. I thought I was the bee's knees. But let's just say my pirouettes were not destined for the stage. That path closed. But for our guest, it opened wide. And yet here's the thing. Her story doesn't stop there. Not even close. At a point in her life when most people settle into their chosen profession, she turned a corner. She leapt from one demanding world into another entirely. Onto our television screens, into our homes, into our living rooms, at a time when television still felt like an event. And let me just say this, she just didn't slip into acting quietly. No, she made a splash. Awards were won, audiences adored her, and suddenly her name was on everyone's lips. And then, because life in our business is rarely straightforward, she took yet another turn. When the roles grew scarce, she did something most of us wouldn't dare. She reinvented herself, completely. I won't spoil the details because I want you to hear them from her. But let's just say her journey took her into rooms filled with sequins, spotlights, and some of the biggest soirees in the country. From there, she built a whole new career in a world where creativity meets sheer organisation. An unexpected chapter that surprised even those of us who knew her well. But of course, she wasn't finished, because she never is. Today, she's back in front of the camera, behind it too, directing, shaping, creating. And if you're getting the sense that this is a woman who never sits still, who can't be pinned down, you're absolutely right. I am so thrilled that our paths crossed all those years ago, and even more thrilled that we're crossing again right now. So, my lovelies, lean in. You're about to meet a woman who has danced, acted, reinvented, dazzled, disappeared, and come back stronger than ever. What a woman indeed. Let's get Olga Tamara on the line. Hi, Olga.
Hi, Lou. How you going?
Oh, very well. Very, very well. And listen, I believe that you have your own website. Do you think it's brought work for you?
No, it hasn't.
Oh,
it was
poo.
something. It was a website that I created some time ago, and it's actually funny because I was just about to cancel the ongoing annual subscription because it's not and it's not up to date. So, and it takes a lot to keep it going, and then for people to find it. So, no, I don't think it's worth it. So, if anybody out there is thinking about having one, don't bother.
Oh, that's good advice. Thank you. Now, Olga, from an early age, you wanted to dance and you left school at 16 to pursue your dream. At the age of 18, you won a 2-year scholarship to train full-time at the Australian Ballet School.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
How was that? It was very exciting. I mean, it was something that I had been wanting to do for many years. I was a student for a long time, since the age of probably about 5. And then when I was in high school, I wanted to actually leave and dance and study full-time, which I did. And then got the scholarship and was accepted into the school, the Australian Ballet School in Melbourne. So it was a very exciting time and big changes, leaving home for the first time when you're a teenager and living in a different city. But there were lots of like-minded girls and boys that were just as passionate about the dance as I was. And, it was a very exciting time for us.
Oh, I bet it was. And I can't imagine anything that would be so hard and rigid. I mean, was it a rude shock, like bloody feet and all that sort of thing?
Well, when you're doing that for your whole life or through your young years, it's something that you're just used to. It's not like you were suddenly thrown into the lion's den. I mean, it's a slow build. It's a slow burn. So your feet become acclimatized to it. Your body becomes acclimatized to it. It's a discipline, and so it's learned over many, many years, not just suddenly going to Australian Ballet School and, things change. It's a continuation of the learning.
And at the age of 20, your dream did come true. You secured a contract with the Australian Ballet Company.
I did, and that was extremely exciting for sure. We all dreamt of getting in, and there weren't that many places available. I think they did a tour to America just at the end of the year that our year graduated, and a couple of them were lucky enough to be taken on that particular tour. When they came back, they chose the other couple that they wanted. So there was myself and another girl that were taken into the school in 1971. I mean, not into the school, into the company in 1971. So we pretty much had to wait it out. We did a little video, well, not a video, it was a series at the time called School for Ballet for the ABC. And so we were filming that at the ABC while everybody else was touring in America, not knowing whether we were going to get into the company or not. So we did that over Christmas and New Year, and when the company came back, we were told the good news. So we hopped straight in. It was great.
Oh, fabulous. And I mean, you'd worked so hard. How did your family and your mum, and proud as punch, I bet?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was an instigator in my career from the beginning. It was something that she always wanted to do. I think that's a very common thread, a familiar story with many young dancers, that their mother always wanted to be a dancer, and so they see their daughter doing it. But yeah, I was fortunate. I had good training. I won that a scholarship, as you mentioned before, which was important because Mum was working 2-3 jobs, didn't have much of a budget to work with, that's for sure. So it was very timely.
Wonderful. Now, for 6 years, you toured the world and you performed alongside legends like Margot, Fonteyn, Rudolf, Nureyev. Did you pinch yourself? Did you ever get nervous?
Look, it's really interesting because, I mean, we were in awe of these people, that, as you can imagine, but it's kind of like now, at my age of 74, now I look back and now I want to pinch myself and say, my gosh, did that really happen? Because when you're young, you're kind of oblivious to all, to the fame of people around you. It's like they were just well-known dancers, and we were in awe of Rudolf, Nureyev, and Margot Fonteyn, but it was strange. I mean, we were just it's really hard to describe. As I say, now I look back and I pinch myself, but we didn't pinch ourselves back then. It was just a matter of fact. It was just a thing that happened,
Well, you're so involved in the moment and you just do it, don't you? You just do what's needed and you love it and it's passion and,
Yeah,
wow.
Part of your career, and you meet some wonderful people and wonderful dancers and guest dancers from around the world, and
Now, did you ever forget a dance step in front of a full house or...
Oh, my Lord, yes. I think everybody's had a melting moment on stage.
Oh, yes.
At one point or other. I do remember the first time I was on stage, I cannot remember whether it was Swan Lake or Giselle, but I do remember it was in my first year. It must have been Swan Lake, because I'm pretty sure I was in a tutu, and I couldn't believe it because I was one of the smaller dancers. We were lined up on the side of the stage, and the soloist or principal at the time was doing their solo. And I was standing at the front, and I could see the orchestra and feel and hear the music, and just couldn't believe that here I was at the Opera House with a live orchestra dancing in Swan Lake, and then just really taken away with the whole thing. And then suddenly I hear I was on the front side of the stage, and the stage manager there, I could hear him going, hey, and what's happening? And to my horror, I just realised that I was the only one left standing there, that the whole of the Corps de Ballet were doing their cross steps, across the stage, where I left, standing there by myself in a complete daze and dream,
Lordy Lord,
thinking, oh my goodness, isn't this amazing where I am? So, it felt like about a 10-minute moment. I'm sure it was only like a few seconds, but those few seconds, as anybody that knows has performed on stage, and regardless whether it's, a play, whether they're acting or whether they're dancing or anything, if anything goes wrong, that one moment feels like forever. And it's something you never, ever forget.
I know. Oh, I know. I've got one of those. 2 of those. Yeah. Oh, darling. What was the money like? I mean, you received allowances for travelling, I presume.
I do remember that the first payment that we had, what year did we turn to the dollar? I can't even remember what year it was. We were talking about 73.
Oh, 73.
We were still in pounds when we were still getting pounds, because I think we were getting like £50 a week at that time. But, look, it's all relative. Cost of living was different. Rental was different. So what that would mean in today's terms, I have no idea. But we survived on that. And, when we toured, we obviously got a touring allowance as well, and we tried to save that while we were travelling.
Absolutely. Good way to save. Did you stay in luxury hotels, or was it mediocre?
No. They were pretty average hotels that we stayed at. New York, I remember there was a hotel. It was not far from Sadi's restaurant, because we had an opening night reception there, and that hotel was pretty scary. It was like the televisions were actually anchored with chains to the floor. And windows were barred, and they'd had a lot of crime. And apparently on the 13th floor, there was a rumour going around, we don't know how true it was, that it used to be an award for an asylum, people with mental problems. And so all these weird stories would go around the hotel with the dancers, talking about these weird experiences they had at night and weird noises in the bathroom. And anyway, not a great hotel, but a great experience in New York. We actually went to opening night at Sadi's, and we were there with Jackie and Onassis were there, Elizabeth Taylor.
Gosh.
So many wonderful people. That was a pinch me moment. We all thought, what are we doing here? This is pretty amazing. So that was a very, very exciting tour.
Now, were there any scandals on the, whilst touring?
There's plenty of scandals, but none that I can share. All those people that I would share are still alive. They would
Dive.
annihilate me.
You'd be dead meat.
I would be dead meat, yeah.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough. We won't go there. Now, how did the company get on? Were there any issues of jealousy or envy when someone got a lead role?
Oh, look, I think that's part of the course, isn't it? I mean, there's always a little bit of envy and jealousy when, you know, somebody gets something that somebody wants. That's life. But all in all, it was a great company to work with. I've still got friends that have lasted all these years, and there's a whole heap of friends here in Sydney, and there's more so that actually live in Melbourne. So when I go to Melbourne, I try to catch up with them. It's a friendship that you can't ignore. You're living with these people, you're living with each other from day to day. You know, when you're touring, and even when you're in Australia, you're still touring because you're going from state to state. So you're butting up with each other in hotel rooms and Airbnbs and dives and things. So it's the only world you know. So it really is just a huge family that you're surrounded by. And it's a good family, you know. And I think the dancers today still feel the same thing.
I'm sure they do. Now, were you recognised by anyone in the streets when you travelled overseas, or for that matter in Australia?
Were we recognised? No. Who recognises dancers in the street? No one.
Nah, perhaps not. Perhaps not. That came later when you became an actor.
It's not like you're, you know, I mean, film actors get recognised. I mean, no, dancers don't.
Nah. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Because I did ballet from the age of 3 till 12. I was pretty hopeless, but you know, I loved it. And I, of course, wanted to be Margot Fonteyn, and at the age of 3.5 when I started. So, you know, I don't know an awful lot about going on after, you know, sort of as you did, you know, getting up there in the big stakes. So this is fascinating for me. Yeah. Now, you lived in a suitcase for most of those years and became sick of it, I believe. Now, was there a final straw for you?
Look, I did love the touring part of it. I mean, one of the most interesting one was when we went to Russia, because it was still Soviet Union days back then. So it wasn't the Russia that we know of now, very much Soviet Union. So you had, you know, we were checked for all sorts of contraband when we were in our hotels. It was a very unusual time, but extremely interesting to travel in a Soviet country in the 70s. And then our tours were in Australia were good, but you always wanted to be back home. Like Sydney was my home, and some of the dancers came from Melbourne or Perth, and so everyone wanted to be in their state. So travelling from state to state became very tedious, and I really got sick of living out of a suitcase in this country. The overseas touring, of course, was wonderful, but that wasn't all the time. You know, the majority of our touring was interstate, and so I started to become very interested in the world of acting and wanted to explore more of that. So it just got to a point in time where I thought, you know, I'm going to pack my bags and go home and, you know, focus on a new career.
Yeah. Olga, I remember you telling me a story about being in the green room at the Opera House and you met with our darling John Walton.
Yes.
And you told me a story about there were 2 guys that were chasing you. One was John and the other was a potential flame. And so can you take us back to that moment?
Well, I think you heard the story not quite right.
No?
They weren't chasing me. I found them very attractive. I couldn't decide which one I liked better. It was between Patrick Ward and John Walton. And I remember we were in the green room and I'm thinking, oh my God, those 2 men, 2 gorgeous actors, they're really cute.
Yeah.
And
2 of my favourite friends.
Yeah, I just thought, oh gosh. Anyway, John was the one that spoke to me first, and so we ended up an item for many years. Met in the green room.
Wonderful. Yeah, met in the green room. And do you think that John had any sort of influence on you, with acting?
I don't know whether he had a lot of influence. I mean, I was interested in acting prior to meeting John. And John, as you know, was very much, is a very, very serious actor, very much into Shakespeare, loved Shakespeare and all of John Bell's work and working with him. He was very passionate about theatre, not so much film and television at that time. And then, of course, he did go on to doing some film and television and started to, enjoy that a little bit more than he thought he would. I think he sort of always kind of poo-hooed that side of acting, didn't think it was serious enough. It was too commercial. But then he did some wonderful mini-series at the time. I think Australia churned out some great mini-series back then, and he got to do a few of those.
He certainly did.
And worked on a couple, I think, with Mel Gibson when he was here. I can't remember the names of them, but they were really, really something. And then, of course, he got into the Sullivans, and that was the first TV series that he got into. And he started to quite like the idea of television after that. But his main love was theatre, Shakespeare. Just loved it.
Yes.
And I
wished I'd seen him in Hamlet.
Yeah, I saw him in Hamlet, and he was amazing. But when you say was it an influence on me in acting, I was never drawn to Shakespeare purely because I was never trained in it. So, and it wasn't something that I wanted to delve into. I was in my 20s then, and I wanted to act. I wanted to do stage work, but Shakespeare wasn't something that I was going to invest my time into. You have to be extremely dedicated to be working. I think you did a Shakespeare play, didn't you? Do Othello? I think I remember you doing that many years ago.
I did Othello and later on Hamlet, and loved it. I did love it, but long time ago now. Yeah. Now back to you. In 1978, you received an ABC Penguin Award for Best New Talent for your role in Glenview High.
Yeah, totally unexpected, but that was wonderful. Yeah, it was great.
Olga, I remember you telling me about it, and I was so thrilled for your great achievement, and I was proud to know you, I must admit.
Thank you.
It was great. Yeah. Well, tell us the character of the role you received the award for.
She was a young Turkish girl, and it was basically different cultural beliefs and what she was going through. And she was a young girl brought up in Australia with very strict parents, and there were a couple of episodes that lasted for I think the storyline went for about 2 or 3 episodes. I can't remember completely, but it was a great role to do, and it sort of opened a lot of doors for me at that stage.
Yeah. I mean, you'd done some television before. However, that was the beginning of your television career, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. It was a catalyst for me to get a lot more work in the television industry with Crawford's down in Melbourne. There are a lot of shows that were that didn't eventuate, didn't go to air, that were actually before they went to air. And there was one that was absolutely horrendous. The worst one of all was Arcade. I mean, I'll never forget that. That was a shocker. Everybody hated it. I think there was a rumour going around that it was a tax dodge for Channel 10. It was a very expensive one. The acting from all of us was pretty dismal. The scripts were even worse. The concept was crazy. Anyway, that didn't last very long, but it was a very, very exciting time as far as the constant churn out of work that was available at the time. And, of course, getting that award for Glenview High was, as I say, a catalyst for getting some other really great work, and ended up in Holiday Island and, as you say, in Cop Shop. That was a good run for 12 months, which I was only taken for 12 months because Linda Stoner was there. Linda went off on a sabbatical to do, I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was a whale saving, I think. And she's very much an animal activist, still is. And then she came back. But I had that 12 months with Cop Shop, and it was a wonderful time working with some great people, some really good directors as well. A very different time then when you think about it. when you'd close the door, the whole wall of the set would wobble and things like that.
I remember that quite well.
Yes, the filming of it was
Yeah.
very different than churning out episodes after episodes, so many a week. It was a quick turnover, but the bonds that we made and the friendships we made during that time were just amazing, wonderful experience.
Fantastic. But you did Young Doctors and Chopper Squad and,
Yes, yep. Paradise Village, Holiday Island.
Yeah. So by this time you would have been recognised in the streets. What was it like for you?
Well, I was just telling someone this the other day that it was really quite strange, because when you're getting a lot of work and you're getting recognised in public, you're actually making good money, getting paid very well back in those days. I'm sure it's better now, but it was good. You could afford to do things. I bought my first house on the savings that I had from about 18 months of work, constant back-to-back shows. But you had the money to do things, but all of a sudden, because you're recognised, you'll get an upgrade on an aeroplane flight, or you'll get a free meal or free drinks or whatever, things that you didn't need, that you could afford. And now, of course, when you can't afford it, you don't get anything for nothing.
No, Murphy's Law.
It is Murphy's Law. It's quite bizarre. But I do remember that my character was killed off at the end of Cop Shop, and I remember coming back to Sydney and going up to the local grocers. And the guy was absolutely gobsmacked when he saw me. He said, "Oh, my God, I thought you died in a car accident. Are you okay? Are you fine?" So it's really hard for some people to actually put aside the fact that television is not reality. There was a funny story I had to tell with John Walton. We were down in Melbourne and he was filming The Sullivans at the time. And we're on a tram. And I remember this guy just staring at John, and he just compelled to come up and talk to him. He said, "God," he said, "you look just like this guy that's on The Sullivans." And John kind of smirked and said, "Yeah, that is me." And he says, "Don't be bloody ridiculous. You'd be dead by now."
Yeah.
He had no idea that the time. I know. He just thought that he would have been an old actor by now because of the time frame.
Yeah.
And it still exists. People there are some people out there that just don't know where reality starts and where it ends.
What about your friends and neighbours? Did they treat you differently?
No.
Not true friends.
No. People know you. They just,
Now, you did some more television, A Wild Ass of a Man, playing Maria with Max Gillies. What was he like? He was a bit of a hoot from what I remember.
Oh, he was wonderful. I love his acting. I loved it. He did something with Peter Sumner many years ago called Three Blind Mice. So I remember I was just looking at a script. I think Peter was showing me the script. It was very, very funny. And I remember seeing Max Gillies on that, and he was hysterical. He had to play his character. He just put on different hats you can just imagine, at a banking counter, and he became all these different characters, and all he had to do was to change a hat and become a different person. He's such a clever actor, and he was great to work with on this particular, I think it was an ABC little series.
Wild Ass of a Man.
Wild Ass of a Man, yeah. He was great.
Yeah. Now, you went back to the stage doing a musical, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. How did you enjoy singing on stage?
I loved it, but I'm not a trained singer, so it was a bit nerve-wracking to start with. And so when it came to the solo bits that my character had, they started off saying, "Hey, we'll do this with a bit of backing and it'll be 2 or 3 voices." And then as the season went on, suddenly, down to just 2 voices. And then I got to do my solo part as it was written. It was very nerve-wracking, but I loved it. It was a challenge. I loved the character that I played in that musical, Angel. It was a fabulous role. We worked our butts off. It was a really difficult rehearsal period. I remember we were lined up to get vitamin B shots. I don't think they'd be allowed to do it these days, but they just said,
Sorry, but what were they called?
Vitamin B shots.
Oh, vitamin B. Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So literally vitamin B injections, and they just said, we've got to come in because everyone was falling down in a heap. Everyone was so exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
The rehearsal period was just massive, and we were leading up to opening night. And I remember lining up, and everybody accepted. "Oh, okay, we're just getting a vitamin B shot. That's fine. That's cool." Do you think they'd be able to do that these days? I don't think so. Not sure.
Oh, I doubt it.
No, I doubt it.
No. Too woke. Too woke.
But it was incredible. It was a great musical. I had a lot of fun doing it. Again, met some wonderful people because we toured it for about a year, and all these people become families, don't they? When you work with them for so long,
They certainly are. Each production, family. Yeah. And you also did The Shifting Heart, working with our darling Pat Ward.
Yeah.
And it was fun with that gorgeous. I still miss him.
Yeah, he's a lovely, lovely man. Very, very nice man. Yeah. It was good doing that play. It was an intense play, but I loved it. I remember John coming to see it once, and I think he criticised me for being a bit too self-indulgent with it. So I took that on board and pulled back a bit.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Marvellous. You take it on board when it's given with the right intention, and that's great.
Yeah, I mean, you need feedback. You're not going to improve and get better if you don't get feedback and listen to it and take action.
Absolutely. Now, were there any jobs you turned down and later regretted, or were you secretly relieved you dodged them?
No. There are a lot of roles I went for that I was desperate to get and didn't get. There were plenty of those.
Yeah.
But no, there's nothing that I would have knocked back and regretted it later. No.
During all this film, television and stage, you did return to the Australian Ballet Company and performed as a guest artist in many, many productions. I think the one that I saw was Romeo and Juliet with Janie Pross, and years ago, but it was just fabulous seeing you.
It was 2006, I think it was, when I was first invited to come back as a character actor to do all these wonderful roles, and it was Bertha from Giselle, and then that led on to others.
Oh, right.
And then that led on to other characters in Swan Lake and Graham Murphy's The Story of Clara, one of the emigres there. That was fabulous to work on. One of my favourites was Madame X, when I've done that a couple of times. Didn't do it in the last Sydney season, but had 2 other seasons with that. And then just a few years ago did the nurse in Romeo and Juliet, which I just love. Fabulous role. I hope that comes back, and I hope I get an opportunity to do it again because it's one of my favourites and such a beautiful ballet too.
I mean, what was it like being back with the company? Like you'd never left?
It just makes you feel so old because you look at all these dancers that, well, most of them you don't recognise anybody anymore. Everybody's gone and left, and there are new young dancers, and you see how young they are. You reminisce about how young you were, and you kind of, it's a strange feeling, but wonderful. Just lovely being in the theatre again and backstage, and I love the rehearsal periods. I've always loved rehearsal periods almost better than the actual performance, because it's the rehearsal period is where you start to discover and develop your characters and do backstories, and that process I just love and soak up. And then the performance is great. That's fantastic. But that lead up of working towards something, it's wonderful.
Now, you worked at the Spastic Centre fundraising for the Miss Australia pageant, and then you had
I did.
And then you went into event management with a partner.
Yep.
For 5 years.
I did. Acting work was drying up. I was so used to having, jobs back to back. That's one thing I regret, not pursuing more, actually being more serious about my training. I mean, I had done some training in acting, but when things started to dry up, I wish I had dived deeper into the acting work and do more work, not as in paid work, but as in working on being an actor. The problem was that I just wanted to have a lifestyle that I wanted to own a house. Yeah. I didn't want to be someone that was still renting a little shack somewhere at the age of 80, and on social security. And I thought, no, I've got to reinvent myself and do something else. And so started doing events small events in shopping centres at first, and then got a huge job with a girlfriend of mine. We made a pitch for the Sydney airport opening. I can't remember what year that was. And there was an announcement that they were looking for an event company. Now, we weren't an event company, but we went in and made a pitch and surprisingly got the job. And that was enormous. So that's when we decided to get our little company together called Echo Productions, ECCO.
Yeah.
And so that continued on for a number of years. And then I was asked to join the Miss Australia Awards as a recruiter, basically, because I've been working in fashion shows and a lot of models, and I think they thought that I had access to a lot of models to come into the Miss Australia Awards. But it's more about fundraising and achievement-based. It's not a beauty contest. It wasn't a beauty contest. Anyway, I did that for quite a few years, or actually for 12 months, and then I was made the manager of the Miss Australia Awards, so stayed there for quite a few years doing lots of events for them.
Mm.
And so I think I've reinvented myself quite a few times doing different things.
You did, because then you founded Authentic Pilates Studio in 2005.
In 2005, yeah, because my body was falling apart while I was doing all this event work, and I thought I've got to get back into doing something. I'm physically, exhausted, and my body's tightening up. My back was hurting. Because we were on location doing bump-ins at stages and stuff, until 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was getting older. I was in my 50s back then. And then I just, I thought, no. And I decided to go back into Pilates. I had done Pilates many years earlier, but now it was becoming a bit of a thing. Mm. And so I decided to get back into it. Mm. Mm. And, ended up doing the course and becoming a teacher, and then opened up my own studio, and now I've got my own teacher training course as well that I've licensed at different parts around the country and overseas. So, doing that and also getting back into acting again.
Oh, Del.
So doing a full circle.
Yeah, it's a big life. Yeah. I believe you still do workshops. You're travelling quite a bit over to New Zealand and what have you. Are you enjoying that travel now? Or?
Well, I haven't travelled for quite some time, actually. I hadn't travelled to Europe since 2020, and then we had shutdown. So it's been a long time since I've travelled. I do miss travelling. I used to go every 2 years and do workshops and then attend other big conferences in Europe and America. So my recent jaunt to New Zealand, where I have Katie Agnew, who is licensing my teacher training program for Pilates over there, invited me over to do some workshops, and that was fabulous. So there, came back. I've just returned from Melbourne. We had some successful workshops down there as well for a lot of contemporary Pilates teachers that are interested in the classical method, which we teach, which is the authentic method. Mm-hmm. And so that's great. The business is doing well. The teacher training side is doing well. It's very hard to compete with other types of Pilates that nearly every corner in every suburb now. You've got reformer Pilates, and then it's very, very different. We teach the traditional, and it's unaffordable for a lot of people. So we struggle from the business side of it, but the teacher training side is great.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Wonderful. But I'm so glad you're going back to acting as well. Yeah,
well, when I turned 60, I decided I just wanted to put my toe back into the water, and it's just been building ever since, and I'm really enjoying it. It's nice, and it's nice to have two hats, because if you're working in theatre full time, that would be wonderful, but I think it's very rare for an actor to be working back to back on a regular basis. I mean, good on them if they can do it, but I need to have two hats. And it's nice to be able to have two different interests in your life.
Well, you've got three, because you've been directing as well, done short films, theatre productions. Do you like the directing?
I love the directing. The first full-length play I did was last year. It was written by Ruth Bingrit, called Asylum, and I'm hoping that we can resurrect that on a more main stage presence, because it's such a brilliant play. I won't go into the details now, but it was a great play, and fingers crossed we'll be able to put that on again.
Mm. Now, many of the productions were with Short and Sweet Festival. How did you get involved, Olga?
Oh, the Short and Sweet. I just got involved in Short and Sweet because I was talking to a writer friend of mine who knew of Script in Hand and Short and Sweet, which I hadn't heard of at that time. And he said, if you want to get back into the acting, just, because you're still rusty. It had been years since I'd been in theatre or doing any film work. So you feel a little bit, feel rusty.
At sea.
so just going in bits and pieces, and I directed a couple of 10-minute plays here and there, and was in a few 10-minute plays, and starting to get back into it. And I love doing the workshops. Like when there are good workshops on now, I still love going and just honing my craft and still working on them, because it's a never-ending process of just working. You can't just sit around and wait for the next job. This is what I should have been doing when I was a lot younger, keep going to courses and workshops to hone my skills, which I didn't do. But I'm doing it now, and I'm not going to stop.
Well, I think it's so important, particularly at our age, to keep the mind going, the brain, it's just, and growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely growing.
Yeah.
Now, in 2024, only a couple of years ago, last year, you played Yvonne, a cleaner in the office, in 3 episodes.
Oh, my
What
Lord.
was your experience?
Look, it was a minor little role. It was fun. It was, I played a Polish cleaner with my husband there. What can I say? It was an interesting experience.
But at least you were up there, Ghazali. So, that's great.
Yeah.
And so what are you going through now as an older actress?
Well, the audition process. What do? You go for these auditions, you hope and pray that you get a call back, and you hope you get the job, and then you don't get the job, and so then you go for another one, and rinse, wash, and repeat. You just keep going at it, and as I say, not just auditioning, but keep going into workshops and working with people and practicing. You got to keep practicing, keep at it.
Now, one question I'd always try to ask is, who would you choose as your favourite Australian performer?
Oh, that's a difficult one, Lou.
I know.
Oh, gosh. This is going to be a long arm. You might have to cut this one out. Oh, God.
Stage, theatre.
Judy Davis would have to be one of my favourites. I think Judy Davis, she's just incredible. I'll never forget seeing what she did as Judy Garland. Did you ever see that in the film?
Yes, I did.
Incredible how she just transformed herself into that, vocally, physically, everything. And, of course, Kate Blanchett. How can you go past Kate Blanchett?
Absolutely.
She's just she's a miracle, that woman. She's incredible.
A chameleon.
Yeah.
She's just incredible. And a lovely person. I met her at a wedding over in France.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice place to meet.
Oh, she was just delightful. Sorry?
I said nice place to meet.
Very nice place to meet.
Right.
Fabulous. But she was just charming. Absolutely charming. And no airs or graces, it was just... Because she was part of the family that was getting married,
All right.
It was wonderful.
Nice.
Gorgeous experience. Now, we've talked about there not being many good roles for older performers. What do you think that actors and actresses can do about it today,
Oh, look, I don't think there's anything you can do about it unless you create your own. I mean, I'd love to be able to create my own, but I'm not a writer. You can have ideas, and I think, admire people that can create for themselves. I've seen people get together and write scripts and do these tiny little series, and it gets taken up. There was a couple of girls in New Zealand, sisters, that weren't getting much work and decided to do, I wish I could remember the name of it, 2 young girls that actually end up inheriting a funeral parlour, and hysterical, very, very funny. And it was, they didn't have any money, put it together, wrote it themselves, acted in it themselves, and it was just wonderful. They went on to a great success and ended up, someone sponsored them, and they went on to doing a second series. And I'm sure they're doing more in the industry now. But some people are very good at being able to write their own stuff, produce their own stuff, get it out there. I just find that producing is really tough, trying to find the money, the funds to put something on stage or on film is a skill in itself. That's so hard. And take my hat off to producers. It's a tough job.
Absolutely. Now, Olga, how do you feel when you see your old work? How do you feel about it?
I feel embarrassed.
Do you?
I do. I listen to this weak little voice of when I was doing certain things. No. I mean, some of it, like I saw a little bit of Glenview High. Somebody sent me an old tape that they had, copy of it, and I kind of enjoyed watching that. There are a few scenes and a few episodes in Cop Shop that I can bear to look at and go, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. But the majority of stuff you go back and look at, and no, it's very uncomfortable. Don't like watching myself. But I think that's with anybody. It's very hard watching yourself do stuff. I don't know. You get very self-critical.
You do, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I find the same thing. Absolutely. I'm sure most people do.
Yeah, I think once you've done it, it's done. You can't change anything. Just move on and don't look back. Don't rewind and look back at it. It's pointless because it's just going to send you into a spin.
Olga, what do you think about the industry today, right now? Do you think young people have got the monopoly, or what do you think about the industry?
There's a lot more young people in the industry, and so, the competition is vast. So for us to say that, the young people have a monopoly, there's a hell of a lot more young people out there fighting for these roles. So I don't know if they have a monopoly on it, but it would be great to see more roles for more mature actors. That's a definite.
Yeah.
And meaty roles, not just...
Absolutely.
Yeah, like the mother or the grandmother or the auntie or the whatever.
With dementia.
Yes, with dementia. God, I can't tell you how many auditions I've done for dementia. I did a short film for dementia. I did, 2 with dementia, and then auditioned for about another 3 with dementia.
Yeah. I got you. And I'm hearing this all the time. I mean, in our day, or my day, doing Young Ramsay, about, half of the episodes involved older actors with these wonderful characters, and the storyline evolved around them. And these older actors would teach and nurture the younger actors.
Yes, mentor them, for sure.
Yeah. On that score, what advice would you give to younger performers?
Oh, keep training. Don't stop. Don't think because you've got 1 or 2 gigs that, this is going to be a never-ending story. It's definitely coming to an end. And, when you see it coming to an end, that's the time to jump in and do more work on yourself. I didn't take that advice to myself when I was young. I wish I had, but I'm trying to make up for it now.
I think you're wonderful doing it, And I think it takes a lot of guts to get out there now. But you've had such a big life and worked so hard. So what do you think is next for you?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I sometimes I think about retirement. I think I couldn't bear the idea of retiring. What would I do? I just sit around and get lazy and fat and I don't know what I do. I think it would be terrible waste of life. I just hope to continue to do what I do. I'm passionate about my Pilates teacher training. It keeps me motivated in movement. I'm constantly moving. It keeps me healthy. It keeps me fit. I'm passionate about doing more directing, about working in theatre. Just keep on going and don't stop.
Yeah. Great advice. Thanks, Olga, so much. I've really enjoyed this. And I've learned so much about you and dance and everything.
Thanks, Lou.
Everything I got wrong.
Only one little thing you got wrong there. But thanks, Lou. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to be with you. And hopefully we'll meet up sometime soon.
Oh, indeed. And all the very, very best for the future, my darling. So
thank you. Thanks, Lou.
What an incredible talent Olga has. So diverse and a real perfectionist. It's wonderful to have these conversations with friends and peers. I learned so much about their hidden talents that not too many people know about these extraordinary lives. Not only did Olga dance and act, she also founded the Authentic Pilates studio, and she's still running it today. You should see the studio in Lilyfield, where all the equipment is on the downstairs level. It's amazing, and I'm sure if anyone is interested It would be easy to find on Google. The Australian Ballet Company incorporates Pilates into their dancers' training regime. What a gal! Not only is Olga running the authentic Pilates studio and occasionally travelling overseas with that work, she's now back acting. I wouldn't be surprised if she takes off again and makes the big time. She deserves it, that's for sure. She's worked hard for what she has achieved, and yet another string to her bow is now directing. With talent like that, the sky is the limit, I feel. I was annoyed with myself for not mentioning some of the accents Olga can do. After all, she won that ABC Penguin Award for her role as a Turkish immigrant. Brilliant. Olga is still doing workshops when she can and honing her skills. So important. We can only wish her every success in the future. Chukas, Olga. Now, my lovelies, stay calm and involved in whatever you want to do. I'll be back next time with another golden oldie. Oh, the joy. A bientôt.
Thanks for listening with an open heart. But now it's time for us to part. So tell everybody that you know to tune in next week to Lulu's show. From set to sofa is where it's at. And Lulu, darling, just loves the chat. She talks to stars with grace and style. Lulu sure will make you smile.